Hey, Vlad here, devinsidea.com. Welcome to this video where I'm going to show you how to install Ubuntu in a virtual machine. I made a video about which operating system is the best for developers, and in this video I encourage you to play with virtual machines. And there are many reasons why you should do that, but there are only three that matter to me, and they probably should matter to you. So the first one is that it's an awesome feeling where you can switch between your native operating system and the virtual one without needing to to turn your computer off and then to turn your computer on, and then so you can use all the advantages of both systems at the same time. The second benefit is that it's super easy to make backups, and the third reason is it's super easy to set up multiple environments, which is super important for programmers. For example, when I was recording the video for the Sublime plugin, I needed a Python environment, I needed Sublime and everything like that. So I created a virtual machine, I set up Ubuntu in it, and I installed Python, I installed Sublime and everything else. When later I'm gonna play with some different technologies, I'm just gonna take the minimal image of my virtual machine, I'm gonna install it, and then I'm gonna install on that image only the things that I need. It's super convenient. So there are many ways to do this, and the application that we will be using today is called Oracle VM VirtualBox. I'm not sure if it's the best one. I tried to Google that, and there are different opinions out there. I have been using it for almost 5 years, and I applied my first rule of problem solving: don't solve problems that you don't have. So it always worked for me. This is why I was like, hey, I'm just going to record a video about that. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to download the software, how to download Ubuntu, how to install it, and we're not going to configure it or anything, but you're gonna learn mostly about the Oracle VirtualBox today. So first of all, I already have it installed. Let me open it by typing Oracle over here. So on the left here, you see the list of your virtual machines. As you can see, I have a machine called Work 16 with Ubuntu 16 installed on it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to uninstall not the virtual machine, but the software over here, which is called Oracle VM VirtualBox. We're going to download it and we're going to install it again. So let's install it first. We need to go to virtualbox.org, and one of the reasons why I'm recording this video is to show you how gigantic this download button is. So we're just going to click on that. So the system that I'm installing it on is Windows. So that's why I'm going to click on Windows hosts, and it's going to start downloading it. It's 118 megabytes. And what we also need is a plugin for this thing. And it's over here, and you just click on all supported platforms, and it's going to start downloading it over here. What I'm also going to do in the meantime is I'm going to download the actual Ubuntu that we will install a bit later in the video. And for that, we need to go to ubuntu.com, and we just go to downloads, desktop, Ubuntu 16.04 3 LTS. So the thing that you need to know about Ubuntu is that Canonical, which is the company that creates them, they decided to release a very stable version every 2 years. It's every 2 years in April. So this one stands for 2016 April. So every 2 years there's a version called long-term support, which means that for this version they're going to release updates for the coming, I believe, 5 years. Right? They also release a new version every 6 months, but these versions are unstable. They are for early adopters, so they're just basically for playing around with. They're not for actual production usage. Okay, so this is what we need: 16.04. And by the way, it also means that right now it's the end of September, which means that in 9 months or so, there's going to be another stable version. Okay, and this video will be obsolete. No, probably not. All right, so we click on download, and it should be like 1.5 gigabytes. You can also donate something with PayPal, but we're just going to say not now. Take me to the download, and it's going to start downloading in a few seconds. Okay, there we go. It's 1.5 gigabytes, and once as long as it's downloading, we're just going to click on that. Say, oh, I forgot to uninstall it. Hold up. So we go to Control, Program and Features. We find Oracle, it's over there. Just uninstall it. Yes. And it goes bye-bye. All right, so it took like 30 seconds to uninstall it. And Now we click on that. Ubuntu is still downloading over there. Run. Next. Just it's the installation passes default one. Next. No. Shortcut in desktop, why not? Quick launch bar, not really. Register file association, sure. Next. It's displaying a warning that it's going to disconnect my network interfaces. In fact, it's a tiny problem because I want to let Ubuntu finish downloading first before I do that. It's only a few seconds left. And there we go. I click yes, install. All right, start Oracle VM VirtualBox after installations. Let's do that. All right. So the first thing that you see, it already found probably my settings, which I was hoping that this would not happen, so that I would show you how to go through all the settings. Also, what happens usually if you install it for the first time, but you already have an image, not an image, but the actual virtual machine laying around somewhere, and then what might happen is that it's not in this list. So if I right click on it, I can remove it, and it tells me delete all files or just remove it from the list, and I'm going to remove it from the list. So the virtual machine is still there, so I can click on machine and add, because this is usually what happens when you install it. You don't have anything in there, but you might still have machines. So see, it's on D, work, VMs, work 16, and I can just select it, and it added it back to the list. So it's like nothing happened, okay? So the first thing I like to do was basically anything these days. When I install it, I go to preferences. So let's go to preferences, and it already has my preferences. I was hoping that they would all be gone, and I don't want to go and explicitly remove them now because I don't really care. I wanted to show you like what the default settings look like, but basically you select a folder where your machines are going to be stored, and every time you create a new machine, you can also change it. You can say, no, but I want this one somewhere completely different, but usually it's not. I never did that. I always decided like where they should be. And by the way, if you have an SSD and you have enough space in there, put the virtual machine on the SSD. It's gonna make everything faster. So just pick a folder. Let's just click through all of the settings and see what's in there. So we go to input. There's nothing fancy there. Update, I tick it off. Like I don't like it when it tells me that there's a new version, because it doesn't, the way it handles updates is, you actually have to download and install it on top of it, I believe. I'm not sure. Anyway, I don't like these pop-ups, and also it has been really stable. I don't think that I have installed it in the last year, so you don't get so many updates, so I don't need that. Language, default, display, automatic, machine window, raise window under mouse. Not really sure what that does. Network, nothing special. Extensions, I'm going to show you that later. This is the extension that we downloaded, and it's already installed, but it's an older version. It's 5.122, and the one that we downloaded is 5.128. Proxy, nothing. Okay, so there's nothing fancy in the settings. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close it, and we're going to click on the plugin. And it says, current version is 5.122. There's a new version like that. You're probably not going to see it the first time. So I'm just going to click upgrade. You scroll down. You pretend like you read all of that stuff. You say, I agree. And yeah, now it's installed. Okay, so all we need to do now is to say new. And then this is an expert mode. You can also switch to guided mode over here. And in the guided mode, you're just going to have to go through a wizard, so you're not gonna have all the questions at once. I'm gonna switch to expert mode because it's the same questions. It's just that you see them all at once. So I'm gonna call this machine dev inside you. And by the way, I forgot to mention that this is actually going to be the virtual machine that I'm going to be using in most of my tutorials. Okay, so as a type, we want to click on here, and then okay, it's already a Linux, so it's all good. We click on version, and we need to scroll down a bit. And we're taking Ubuntu. By the way, if you want to know why Ubuntu, watch my video about which operating system is best for developers. Check it out. All right, so memory. If you want to do anything with virtual machines, I highly advise you to have at least 16 gigs of memory and at least 4 cores. So the second thing to know about memory is that everything here is virtual, which means that you can change it later. But I already know that I'm not going to change it later. So I have 32 gigs and I want to give it 24 gigs. If you have 16 gigs, I would give it 12. If you have 8 gigs, I would give it 5 maybe. All right. So basically just go down like somewhere here or somewhere here. Never go to red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fancy calculator and I'm going to multiply 1024 1024 with 24 gigs because I want to give it 24 gigs, and it gives me 24576, I believe. Yes, you absolutely don't have to do this. It's just that the computer scientist in me told me to do that. It doesn't have to be a power of 2. You can type in anything you like. Okay, and leave this by default. Create a virtual hard disk now. Actually, before I click on that, let me show you how it looks like on over here. So if I go into VMs, there's nothing there. There's my my old VM, you know, the one that you see over here, and there's also a folder called external because my VM uses an external hard drive. Okay, but once I click create on here, it should create a folder dev inside you over here. Yeah, so it created over here, but it's empty now. Okay, so see, even in the expert mode, it's still a wizard, so it's still opened a new page, and now I can decide how my virtual hard drive is going to be called and where it's going to be. It's still going to be called dev inside you, and it's still going to be in the same folder. You can change it over here, but there's no reason. And there are different types of sizes. There's dynamically allocated and fixed size. So fixed size means you decide how big it's going to be, and it's going to be like this forever. It's going to be like this from the beginning, and it's also going to stay like this. So let's say you give it 10 gigabytes. It's going to be 10 gigabytes from the very beginning, even though there's nothing inside of it. It's just going to allocate those 10 gigabytes on your hard drive. I highly advise not to do that. I always choose dynamically allocated. And then this, you can still choose the maximum size that it can get. And what I suggest you do is give it all you can. So I'm telling it to use all the 2 terabytes. I don't even have that much space on my hard drive. Let's see, like this is my hard drive and it's only 1 terabyte, right? So I don't even have 2 terabytes, but all it's doing is it's the maximum, right? It's a virtual machine, remember? So you will be able in the future to take this image and to move it on a new hard drive that you will buy in the future, right? So give it the maximum. Okay, let's say, okay, create. Now it's created. So what it created is this is the hard drive, and this is just some files that it needs to work, and the whole folder is only 9 megabytes, right? Not 2 terabytes. It's only the maximum that it can reach. By the way, you can't. I believe you can't change this maximum later. And also, I believe the problem with virtual machines is that once they start taking space, they can't give this space back. Like I actually don't know. These days, maybe there are some tools that actually allow you to do that. But the last time I checked, which was a few years ago, it was not possible to regain that space back. Okay, which is why I'm highly suggesting you to give it all you can. In fact, check it out. This is the one that I use at work. It's 42 gigabytes, right? And I have been using it for like 2 years now. And this is external. This is only the database. So the database is bigger than the actual virtual machine. And together, I barely reached 100 gigabytes, right? So it's never going to be, it's never going towards, terabytes or whatever. All right, so anyway, so now it's created, and now before we start it, we go into settings of the virtual machine, and we're just gonna go through them real quick. So there's basics, advanced. Yeah, you can take snapshots. I never try to take snapshots, but basically it's a really good way to do backups, I guess, but I never tried it. So there's a way to do shared clipboard, host to guest, guest to host, or bidirectional, and you obviously choose bidirectional, and it works quite well. There's also a drag and drop feature for files, and I had it set to bidirectional, but it never really worked super well for me, so I'm just going to leave it disabled. And again, everything in here you can change later. Some of the settings you can only change once if the virtual machine is off, but most of the settings you can change even while it's running. Okay, description doesn't really matter. Encryption, you can encrypt the entire VM. I haven't played with this, but I believe it's super easy. You just say encrypt, you give it a password, and then it's encrypted, and it always will ask you for a password. What we're going to do over here is we're not going to choose this. We're going to choose Ubuntu's native encryption. Okay. By the way, it says invalid settings detected because it thinks that I gave it way too much memory. It says, hey, you have only 32 gigs and you gave it like more than 75%. But I have been using it for 2 years and it died on me maybe two or three times, so it's fine. Okay, so let's go to system. Again, as I told you, you can change how much memory you give it to. You don't need to change anything in here, even though it says pointing device, USB tablet. You know, you can also choose a mouse or whatever. I always use the default and it works. So if you go to processor, you just give it all you can. I mean, all you can technically would be here, but basically don't go into red. Just give it all you can over here. Execution cap, never touch it. Don't know what it's doing. Acceleration, I'm not sure if I changed it. Oh yeah, hardware virtualization. That's a very good point. You have to make sure these days there are processors that have this virtualization technology in them, and if you have a processor like this, make sure that it's enabled in BIOS. What it allows you to do, it allows this virtual machine to send instructions to the actual hardware CPU directly without going through multiple layers of abstraction. It speeds up things enormously, right? So for your next computer, make sure that your CPU has this virtualization technology. Most of them have it anyway. Okay, so let's go to display. So always give it as much memory you can. It's limited to 128 megabytes. Just for you to understand how sort of little it is, I have the, hold on, if in Windows you press Windows R and you type in DAG, which stands for DirectX Diagnostics, and you press enter, and the first time you're going to run it, it's going to ask you a question. Just say yes to it. You see what your system is, you know, which kind of system you have, which CPU, which RAM, and you know which DirectX and whatever. And then you can go to display, and you see the graphics card that is installed, and it's GeForce GTX 1060 that I have. It's the weakest one from the latest Pascal series, and it should say at some point how much memory it has. Hold up. Oh yeah, there. So I have 6 GB of RAM in my graphics card, and the maximum I can set up here is 128 megs. The cool thing is though, check it out. On let's say okay for now. Let's go into the settings from my virtual machine from work. There's a trick how you can set it up to 256. First of all, I'm not entirely sure if it's actually working or if it's just a UI thing. I never bothered to actually confirm that. But basically, the trick is if you give it more monitors and then you say okay, and then you run it once on multiple monitors, and obviously you can only do that if you actually have more than one hardware monitor. And then when you will turn the virtual machine off, then the limit will be higher, right? It's basically 128 multiplied with the number of monitors that you have. So right now I have 3 monitors, so if I would set it to 3 and do that trick, I would probably be able to set it to 128 times 3, right? I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. We're just going to keep going. So display 128, monitor count, I just give it 1. In my experience, it's better. Like even though I have like 3 screens right now, I usually prefer to give only 1 screen to my VM. I sometimes have it in full screen on one, sometimes I have it in a small window. You can choose whatever you like. All right, so the next thing that we have is enable 2D video acceleration and enable 3D acceleration. So the 2D video thing is only for Windows. So see, if I click it, it says invalid settings detected. And if I hover over here, it's going to say it's only a Windows thing. I think, no, there is set up to user, only works on Windows guest system. We're not setting up Windows, we're setting up Ubuntu. So let's turn it off, but we do want that one. And I'm gonna, if I don't forget, I'm gonna explain why. All right, let's go. Storage. If you want to have external hard drives, you don't click on plus over here or over here. You click on this one first, and then you click on the plus over here. We're not doing that. We're not gonna do that in this video. This video is gonna be too long anyway. Let's just get going. Audio doesn't really matter. Network doesn't really matter, but there is a cool trick that I might show later. Actually, I'm going to show it now. If you click on advanced and go to port forwarding, It's super easy to do port forwarding in a virtual machine. So what I'm working on usually, at work, we have a web platform, so we have a web server that I'm running, and I prefer to test it in Windows. So what I would do is I would just click plus here. I would call it web, and the protocol is TCP, and the host IP is going to be localhost, right? And the port is going to be 80. And the guest IP is 10.02.15, I believe. I'm going to check that later. And the guest port is going to be 8080. So what this is doing is that when I'm running a server inside of my virtual machines, first of all, virtual machines, they always have this IP address, unless you're running multiple of them, I guess, but I never tried that. They always have this IP address, and if I'm not going to forget it, I'm going to show it to you later. And in development mode, when we run our servers, we run it on port 8080. So what's going to happen is, if I'm on Windows in my browser, if I type in localhost or if I type in host IP and the default port for web is 80, it's going to redirect me. So if my VM is running, it's going to redirect me to this IP where my VM is running to this port. And this is how easy it is. I'm not going to demonstrate this today because we're not going to install anything inside of Ubuntu, no servers, no nothing. But that's it. And you can even do that while the VM is running. How cool is that? Okay. Actually, I'm going to show you. Let's press OK here. I have a live reload, which is a plugin for the browser, for web development. If your editor supports it, so your editor would run some sort of server and your browser runs a client, and then if you start a server in your editor and then you let your browser connect with this plugin to the server, what will happen is that if you save a file, you're working on your website or your HTML or CSS or something, you save the file and your browser understands that there's a change, and the browser reloads the page. So it's called live reload. So basically you don't have to go there and click reload yourself. So the cool thing with this is that if you have your development inside the VM, but you're testing it inside of your host, you can still do that. And let's see, on my work virtual machine, if I go to network, I go to advanced port forwarding, I actually have the one for live reload. I found out on which port it's running, right? And I'm just redirecting it. So, and this is how it works. So I have my editor inside of my VM, and it runs a server on that port, and I have Chrome on my Windows, and and they talk to each other on the same port. And that's kind of cool. I'm not sure if that made sense. If that didn't make sense, just don't worry about it. Okay. Let's go back to settings. So we were at network, serial ports, doesn't really matter. USB doesn't really matter. USB doesn't matter because you never want to have access to USB, because you have this thing called shared folders. And what shared folders allows you to do is it basically allows you to share a folder between guest and the host system. So you click plus, and I usually give it the entire my entire hard drive, right? My entire hard drive, this one, entire hard drive. It's called D drive, but you can also rename it. Not read only, auto mount, and okay. By the way, this feature is not going to work if you didn't install this guest additions plugin. Okay. And the last one is user interface. When we're going to run the VM, it's going to display this bar at the top and this bar at the bottom. In the beginning, we're going to leave it as is, and also it's going to show a mini toolbar. I'm going to leave all of this as is to show you the first time, but once we finish setting everything up, I'm going to turn it off, and we're going to see how awesome it looks like. So we're done with all the settings. Let's click OK, and let's finally start it. We'll click on Start, and let's see. All right, so it wants now this image over here. So we just click on the folder. We go to Downloads, and that's where it lies. Ubuntu, Start. Let's see what happens. By the way, while it's starting, first of all, it shows you a preview over here, and second of all, you don't even need to have this application running, right? So I'm just going to close it. Close the folder over here. I'm going to minimize the browser. So it's just starting up here. In the beginning, it might take some time. All right, so it's actually starting up. That's also a cool thing about Ubuntu, or most Linux systems. They don't take forever to install. They don't take like 40 minutes like Windows, right? So and also another thing, those virtual machines, they sometimes can crash during the installation. That just happens. So for example, this is a black screen now. Like I'm pretty sure that it's going to start, but sometimes it doesn't. Okay. Another cool thing to know about Linux, or Ubuntu in this case specifically, you use Ubuntu itself to install Ubuntu. Like this is a minimal version, so we're just running it. So yeah, we can try Ubuntu, but in this case we actually want to install it. So try Ubuntu is you can run the entire operating system from a USB drive or from a CD or something like that. So what we want to do is actually, let me make it bigger. And so in my case, when I'm making it bigger, it actually changes the resolution. In your case, it might be the case that it doesn't, so it stays like a tiny screen, and it's because of the guest editions, and I'm going to show you how to set it up later. For me, it just stored all my settings. I hope that it wouldn't do that, but it just did. So don't worry about it. So just click install, and I'm going to let it download updates while it installs Ubuntu, and I'm also going to allow it to install some third-party software. You don't really need to do that, but why not? Continue. All right, so in here we have a few options. So the first one that I'm going to explain is this one: erase disk and install Ubuntu. This is like a clean installation. By the way, don't worry, it's not going to erase your actual disk. It's going to erase this virtual disk that we created. Hold up, where was it? Work, VMs. Dev inside you. Like this is the virtual hard drive that we're talking about. So it's asking, should we erase everything on it? And we're going to choose that actually. You can choose something else where you can set up your own partitions. Like this is for advanced users. And remember I said that we're going to use native encryption from Ubuntu. This is what we do. Encrypt it over here. Install now. We choose a password, very secure. And again, I told you that I'm going to use this VM for my future recording, so I'm going to actually choose a real password, really long one. Now let's hope that I type it correctly. Oh yeah. All right, override empty disk space. You only need to do that if if you actually want to write something in every cell of this virtual hard drive. But in this case, it's completely unnecessary. And by the way, this is the thing to know. It doesn't know that we're installing it right now in the virtual machine, right? This is a regular Ubuntu image, right? So there's nothing special about it. So it doesn't know that it's a virtual hard drive, so there's no need to do that. All right, install now. All right, it's just a warning that there's no way to go back because we said, hey, encrypt it. So we're just gonna say continue. All right, so I'm in Germany, so it suggests Berlin. Continue. And keyboard layout is English. By the way, if you're not from an English-speaking country and but you still use English all the time and you want to have English layout, I highly suggest to pick US instead of UK because it's just more standard. It's older. It's default for almost everything. So US. All right, so my name, I'm just gonna say Vlad. My computer is gonna be called Dev Inside You. The username is also going to be Vlad, and the password is going to be I'm not going to have anything super secret on it, so I'm going to pick a short password because on Ubuntu you end up on Linux you end up doing many things in the terminal, and you need to type this password kind of often. So I'm going to pick something small. Okay, I'm also going to say login automatically instead of prompting me for password. Okay, there's also this thing over here, this checkbox, encrypt my home folder. I had problems with that. Let's click on continue. Okay, so now it's installing it, and I'm gonna cut it out from the video. All right, so it took only a few minutes to install it. Every time I edit the video, you always see my my time over here. So it took only 3 minutes to install it. And also notice that when virtual machines are running, they tend to hog RAM and not give it back. So this icon is yellow now. So occasionally you need to shut it down. So let's restart it. This is a black screen, and occasionally it stays black. Let's just hope that it's going to restart. In fact, I believe this is sort of a bug. The first time you restart it, it still thinks that it needs to boot from the image, but then it gets confused, I believe. Let's see. Usually I wait for like a minute or so, and then if it doesn't boot, I just kill it. In fact, for preparation for this video, I installed it once, and exactly this thing happened. So let's just kill it. And this is an awesome thing about virtual machines, because it's so easy to kill them. You just click on the cross, and it says, do you want to save the machine state, which is exactly the opposite of what I want to do now. Do you just want to send the shutdown signal, which would be similar to just clicking turn it off, or you can just kill the power, like as if you just unplug it. And this is exactly what I want to do. Okay, and boom, it's gonna be gone in a few seconds. It's gone. Okay. Okay, so let me show the desktop icons. It's right over here. Okay, so let's start it, and I believe this time it's just gonna start. It's gonna boot. Everything's gonna be fine, I'm sure. Again, we can close that one. Okay, it's still black. Just have hope. And there we go. Okay, so this is the encryption password, and I'm gonna type it right or wrong, and it's right. Okay, so it's all good. If it had been wrong, then we would just need to type it in again. All right, the screen is still black. So much tension. All right, there we go. This is Ubuntu, and it shows you this keyboard shortcuts screen in the beginning. It's kind of sad that it doesn't show the most useful one, which is Control Alt and T, which spawns a terminal. Let's close it for now. So the first thing that I like to do in any system is that I allow it to download all the updates. So we'll click on over here, and we just say update software updater, and it's going to search the repositories now. Come on, spawn somewhere. Yeah, so while it's searching for stuff, what you're seeing over here is called Unity, and Unity is the virtual, the graphical user interface. And on Linux system, the cool thing is that you can change it, right? By the way, notice that it downloaded all these updates while we were installing. Remember this checkbox? So I'm just going to say install now, and you can also see like details. Oh, it wants my password. It's not the encryption password. This is the short one. Remember? We can also see the details, so it's installing Firefox right now and a bunch of other things. So what I was explaining is that Unity is a graphical interface, and the cool thing about Linux is that you can replace a graphical interface with a different one, or you can actually have multiple graphical interfaces installed at once, and then when you boot into Linux, it asks you like, which one do you want to boot? Right, so the people don't really like Unity. In fact, they don't like it so much that Canonical decided to remove it for the next version. So the 18.04 version is going to have the regular what is it, GNOME, I believe it's called, GNOME graphical interface. I'm not a big Linux expert, so all I'm saying is that this graphical interface is going to die. That's all. Okay, so it's still downloading the updates. I realize that I can show you one other thing in the meantime. If you open this the software again, you can right click on the virtual machine, and you can say create shortcut on desktop. And this is our virtual machine. So the next time we want to start it, we don't even need the software. So okay, it still downloads the updates, so I'm gonna cut it out. All right, so it finished installing the updates, and it wants a restart. In fact, Linux systems, most of the time, they don't need a restart, but some things still do. So what I'm going to say now is I'm going to say restart later, because I want to shut it down instead of restarting, and I want to demonstrate how to use that shortcut. And well, not how to use it, you just double click it, right? I just want to show you that it works. Okay. Also, sometimes it's not such a bad idea to like once the window shuts down, to let it, to give it a few seconds to, because it's still cleaning some stuff in the background. Okay, so let's double click. And there we go, our VM starting up. So I cut out the whole starting system for you guys. The next thing that you want to do is you want to install guest additions. So for me, it looks like this, but for you, probably, if you maximize the window, what will happen is that your Ubuntu still is going to stay small, like somewhere here. And this is what we need the guest additions for. So you click on devices over here, which is not an Ubuntu thing. It's still this, this Oracle VM VirtualBox software. Remember, there's this line at the top. Actually, let me show you this. Remember in the settings, under user interface, there was this bar at the top and this bar at the bottom, and I said that I'm going to leave them on for now, and this is one of the reasons, right? Because we need to click on device and then install guest edition CD image. And we just click run. So what's happening is because we have this plugin installed, it comes with a virtual CD. And what happened now is that we inserted this virtual CD into a virtual drive inside of a virtual machine, right? And it had auto start, which is why we saw this pop up. And it, it warned us, hey, you have stuff in auto start, it might be malicious software and whatever. We said run, we entered our password. Now it finished installing, we click return. And I believe that I don't need to reboot anything because I already had it installed, but ideally, turn it off, or so you can either shut down and then either restart or shut down and start again. What it did is it installed a different graphics driver. So if you click on here, actually let me maximize it now. All right, so if you click over here and we type in additional, just AD, and we click on here, what it should show us that we have a special graphics driver installed. Maybe it's not going to do it now. Maybe I actually do need to restart. Yeah, so see, it's this one actually. The one that it installed was gas utilities, but it's not being used yet. And I believe if I restart, then it will use it. I'm just going to click it. I'm going to cut it out so we can save some time. All right, so now I reboot it, and let's click over here, and it actually remembers what we typed. So let's click on here, and if I did, it should probably choose this driver. If it doesn't, okay, it doesn't. I'm not actually sure why. I'm just going to explicitly tell it to use it. I hope it's not gonna demand. Oh, okay, it doesn't want to use it. Like I don't know. Sometimes, like, I had virtual machines where it was actually using it. Sometimes it's not. Maybe it's because I already had it installed or something. It doesn't really matter. All right. The next thing I'm going to show you is that if you click over here, this is the the Explorer sort of. It's called Nautilus. So what we see under computer, there's this folder called Media. And under media, we see our hard drive. But if we click on it, we can't actually go into there. And this is a permissions problem. So what we need to do is we need to press Control-Alt-T. And now we're in the terminal. And actually, let me go to, let me change the font. How do I do that? Right click, profile. So there we go. Okay, profile preferences. Oh, there we go. Here, custom font. 128. What? Where's my numlock? 28. There we go. Select. All right, there we go. And also, if you press F11, it's going to be in full screen. So what we need to do is we need to change directory into /media. And in there, if we type LL, we're going to see that this folder, which represents the hard drive that I have, that it belongs to the root user, but it also belongs to the VBox SF group. So all we need to do now is to add our user, which is, in this case, Vlad, to that group. And for that, we just type in do as a super user, user mod, so modify the user, add group, and then we type the name of the group, and then the user, and press enter our password, and that's it. So now we actually have access to that folder, but we need a restart. So if I try to change directory into the folder, it's still going to say permission denied. Okay, so last restart, I'm going to cut it out from the video, shut down, restart. All right, so it booted up again. So what we're going to do here is we're going to my regular hard drive, which is over here, and we're going to open it as well over here. And I'm just going to show you that you can create a file over here. Let's call it, see, it's already over there. You can call it something, blah.txt, right? And it's open over here. I'm just gonna open it. Sublime text, why not? Because it opens on my other window over here. So let's write something, hello from Windows. Now I just save it. And if I open it over here, it should say hello from Windows. So you have this bidirectional thing, and also you can copy paste stuff because we set up this bidirectional copying. So let's copy hello from Windows, paste it over here, and also copy something else. Hi, let's copy that, put it over here. So Control C, Control V, everything works as intended. All right, so let me remove Sublime over here. Let's close it. And also, so the same thing from over here, we're just gonna close it. Let's not save it, doesn't really matter. Let's delete it, delete, and it's gone here as well. All right, the last thing that I'm going to show you today is how to do backups and how easy it is to restore stuff. If we go to File and then we say Export Appliances, and then we just select this virtual machine, say Next, and then we decide where to store it. And I'm just going to say store it on the desktop just for now, and call it Backup. Save, Next, Export, and now it creates this backup. And because it's so tiny, right, the whole virtual machine is dev inside you is okay, 17.5 gigabytes. Well, at least, you know, compared to Windows should be like probably 50 these days or something. 70.5 gigabytes, and it should create a backup like this in probably like 10 minutes. I'm gonna cut it out, but you know, you can look at the clock over here. It's 9:43 right now. Okay, it actually takes longer than I thought. So as you can see, after 4 minutes, it tells me that it's gonna be half an hour. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna abort it. I'm just gonna take another image that I already have, and we're just gonna import that because I wanted to show you how easy it is. So we're just gonna say File and Import Appliance, and I have one laying around somewhere. Hold up, D work VMs. No, it's not here. D backups VMs. All right, so see, this one should be small. Like this one was very similar, so I just set it up and I backed it up. So from these 17 gigabytes, it zipped it somehow into 8. So I'm just gonna take this one, open, and yeah, I'm just gonna say import. Appliance import, yes, this one. You can also change some settings here, but there's no need to change anything. I'm just going to say import. I might need to change the name because it already exists. Let's see, because importing is actually way faster. It should take like it should really take only a few minutes to import. It shows 10 minutes, but it's not, I'm sure. Yeah, so as you can see, it's only like 1.5 minutes. And the cool thing about those virtual machines is they were taking on a different system. So in my case, it was still Windows, but you know, it was not this Windows, right? So, but it could have also been, you know, on a Unix system. It could have been on a Mac system, and I can still import it into Windows, right? So look at the clock. It has been only like a few minutes, and it even renamed it to work 16.01, and now I can start it. It's going to look very similar. So let's just start it. It even remembers that it wasn't full screen. How cool is that? All right, let's see. Should probably also ask me for the password because I usually always encrypt them. Yeah. All right, everything is successful, and it should look very similar because it's. Oh yeah, it is also set up to ask me for this password instead of automatically logging me in. Let's see, everything is black. So see, it looks very similar, but I removed already a few icons in here, and probably I changed the colors in the terminal. No, I didn't yet. Yeah, but basically that's it. So this is a very similar virtual machine. Let's go to additional drivers because maybe in this one the other one is actually selected. Let's see, I would be surprised. Yeah, and this one, this one, you know, this other driver is actually selected. So it's, you know, you win some, you lose some. In any case, this completes this video. What it allows me to do now is that I have this minimal version. I'm also gonna, you know, I'm probably gonna create a video about how to configure like the minimal configuration of Ubuntu, and then I'm gonna create this image, right? And then I will have this image, and every time I'm going to play with new technologies, or maybe, you know, especially in my case when I'm gonna, you know, if I'm gonna record like a Node.js tutorial or something, right? I'm just gonna take that image, I'm gonna install Node.js, and then I'm gonna show you how to install Node.js. And things like this. So every time you're playing with different, you know, with new technologies, you don't have to pollute your actual system, right? You can cleanly separate it. Hey, so somewhere in the middle of this video, I said that I'm going to show you how what difference 3D acceleration is making, and also how the VM looks like if you disable the UI bars at the top and at the bottom. And of course, I forgot it, so I decided to record this tiny little piece and attach it to the other video, which is why I'm wearing a different T-shirt. So I have a virtual machine over here and over here, and one of them has all of these bars disabled, right? And this one over here has all of these bars enabled, and I have them running over here and over here, and so you can compare. So this one has this bar with file, machine, and view, and also it has this bar at the bottom, right? And you also have this one which doesn't have any of them. So if I take this one and press for me it's right control and F, then it's going to make it full screen. All right, there we go. OBS didn't like the fact that I made it so big. So if it's in full screen, then you don't see those bars, obviously. But if you don't make it in full screen, it's still black now. Okay, if you just maximize it like that, which is something that I like to do, then you still see the bars, right? And obviously it doesn't happen for this one, right? If it's maximized, you know, the bars weren't there from the beginning, so now they're still not there. Okay, and the second thing, let me turn this one off. And the second thing that I want to show you is 3D acceleration. So what 3D acceleration allows you to do is similar as in Windows. If I open Sublime or any other tool, it allows you to snap it to the sides. See, like that. It's not possible to do without 3D acceleration. See, like that, similar to Windows. Okay, and that's actually it. All right, so I hope you like this video. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, but you know, most of the time I'm going to do videos on programming and software development. And cheers, see you next time.